Bush. Or as they were known in Canada in the 90s, Bush X, because the X made everything sound cooler. Wow, I am just knocking it out of the park with these 90s quotes. Wait, was Evanescence from the 90s? Ah, never mind. Let's just get down to some Boros Chumps. Boros Chumps is a red-white modern token-generating deck. Goblins, soldiers, warriors, they're all welcome here. Now, it's definitely a budget deck by modern standards, and by most standards, and falls more under the heading of fun rather than competitive. But man oh man, can it ever be fun. Now, having a little army of tokens can be effective, but we're going to need a little boost if we want to really kick some ass with this deck, so we're going to start with a full playset of these two enchantments. Impact Tremors and Intangible Virtues. Impact Tremors will do 1 damage to each opponent whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. And Intangible Virtue will give all your tokens +1/+1 and vigilance. Now, I've talked about Impact Tremors a lot in the C3 show that I used to do on this channel, but A, I never did a full deck tech with it, and B, those videos were never really all that popular. We're actually not going to run any enchantment tutors in this deck, mostly because the low mana cost ones are way too expensive, and we don't have patience with this deck for the high mana costing ones. Running 2 playsets of 2 different enchantments assures us that we're likely to see at least one by round 2, and if you happen to end up with both or even multiple copies of one, it makes this deck go even better. Now on to creatures. There are surprisingly few. 2 of Siege Gang Commander, a great way to not only hit for 4 damage with Impact Tremors in place, but another way to deal damage to players or creatures with its secondary ability. Also a 2 of the Goblin Dark Dwellers, which will let you bounce one of the many instant and sorcery spells from our graveyard, and get double value out of it, which is nice because there's not much card draw going on here. And that's it. Now on to the spells, and as you'd expect, most of them are token generators. We will be doing a full playset of Raise the Alarm, Gather the Townsfolk, and Hordeling Outburst. Simple, cheap, and effective. They're all relatively low on the mana curve and will assure us that we get a steady supply of tokens. We will also do 2 of Secure the Wastes, a versatile card that will act like a lava burst plus give you more tokens, and a 2 of Howl the Horde. More often than not, these 2 cards should not be played together, but if you can do the Howl the Horde with Raid before, say, a Hordeling Outburst, you could drop up to 9 tokens. Heck, if you got 1 foot in the grave and combo Howl with Townsfolk, you could drop 15 tokens. Another great way to sneak in more tokens is with Launch the Fleet, a very versatile and fun card that I haven't seen played in many decks. We will be playing 3 copies of this sorcery. If you've got the mana and the attacking creatures, you can pump out a whole lot of attackers with this card's Strive ability. But newly spawned tokens will still tap, which kinda sucks, but hey, it's not like they disappear at the end of combat or anything, they just, tap. We will also play a 4 of Lightning Strike, cheap and effective. Finish things off with 2 Dragon Fodder, the other Goblin Dropper. So there are 25 spells, which leaves us room for 23 lands. Cutting it a little close, but that's how I like it. We will have a full playset of Temple of Triumph. Straining the budget a bit here, but in a deck with no card draw, Scry will be very helpful. Then it's simply 8 plains and 9 mountains, and 2 Foundry the Consuls, because it doesn't enter tapped, and it can have some serious late game advantages for this deck, by providing end-step token-generating shenanigans. So before moving on to some sideboard suggestions, I thought I'd do some honorable mentions for a few non-budget cards that you may want to splurge for, or you may happen to have a copy of lying around that you can put in this deck. Since we just went over lands, you could replace the Temples with Needle Spires. Activating its ability will count as a creature entering the battlefield for the Impact Tremors, plus a 2/1 Double Striker. That's kind of nice, actually. Of course, you could substitute the Bolts for Strikes, that's a given. Elspeth is a nice addition to this deck as well. Her +1 gives you 3 tokens. 3 tokens? That's insane. And Rise the Hobgoblins is another nice enchantment that can both give you tokens and give your tokens first strike. Now, sideboard suggestions. How about Deflecting Palm? If you're dealing with some big creatures or heavy damage effects, this card is sweet. A real double whammy for just 2 mana. Guttural Response is nice. We can be casting a lot of non-creature spells, and it kind of sucks when they're always being countered. So for 1 red mana, you can counter any blue instant spell. Ah, Guttural Response. I would love to play you in a Pauper build, if only you weren't uncommon. Why do you have to be uncommon? If you're facing a lot of flyers, you may also want to have some Pia and Karan Nalar. They both give you flyers and help you burn flyers. If you're playing Pia and Karan, you may also consider having some of this card. It's, well, kind of evil in this deck. You're not going to win the game by milling your opponent, but you will annoy them, and after all, isn't that really what's more important? One more suggestion would be the Oromancer. A nice budget card, and if you find that your enchantments are being the target of removal spells, this can be a sneaky way to bring them back. So there we go, 23 lands, 4 creatures, 8 enchantments, and 25 spells, for 60 cards of chump dumpin' action. Get set to go wide in a big way whilst chipping away at your opponent's life total, just for the sake of it. If you can think of any other cards that would make a nice addition to this deck, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please think about giving it a thumbs up. Otherwise, thanks for watching all of our Brain Pulp stuff, and we'll see you again.